I'd like to call the informal meeting of the City Commission to order. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Brown? Here. Dr. Estrop?
Here.
Mrs. Houston? Here. Mrs. Tackett? Here. Mr. Rue?
Mayor Rue will be joining us later in this meeting. City Manager, would you please introduce our work session topic?
Yes, Commissioners, we have two work sessions tonight. The first one is a presentation on the Gun Violence Reduction Program, and it will be presented by Caleb Perkins, who is the Violence Intervention Coordinator at OIC. Caleb?
Thank you, City Manager. Good evening, Commissioners. As you know, my name's Caleb Perkins. I am the Gun Violence Prevention Coordinator for the Community-Based Violence Intervention and Prevention Initiative. I had come to the Commission previously regarding some of the data we had collected as part of this initiative to assess the current levels of gun violence in the community. Before I get to our recent activities, though, I would like to just kind of take a step back and kind of explain how we got to this point. So the initiative grew from a group of community stakeholders and leaders who were concerned about the increasing number of gun-related offenses in the community, particularly those offenses involving youth and juveniles who were becoming involved in the juvenile justice system. These stakeholders and leaders voluntarily started meeting to discuss how they could collectively address this issue. These group of leaders included Clark County Juvenile Court, the OIC of Clark County, the City of Springfield, Springfield Police Division, the Springfield Foundation, Springfield City Schools, the Mental Health and Recovery Board, and the Springfield chapter of the NAACP. After a few of these meetings, one of the leaders actually had brought it to the attention of the group that a grant was available. This grant was a solicitation from the Department of Justice, specifically from the Bureau of Justice Assistance's Community-Based Violence Intervention and Prevention Initiative, also known as CVI-PI. The grant was open to applications from specific organizations, including not-for-profit community-based organizations. At the time it was presented, there was a short deadline between when an application could be put in and when those applications would be accepted. During that time, the group then discussed which agencies would be eligible to apply from that group, and who also had the capacity to collect that data, to then compile it together, and then provide the submission to the DOJ as a part of that grant application process. It was also determined at that time that if the grant were awarded to this group, who would act as the fiscal agent for those funds. At the time, the OIC of Clark County was selected as the agency to submit on behalf of the group, and then to be the fiscal agent, again, on behalf of the group. As a result of those efforts, the group was able to secure $1.6 million in federal funds for community research, planning, and initiation of activities to help the community in establishing a coordinated, cohesive, effective, and sustainable approach to preventing and reducing gun violence. I was hired to coordinate those efforts, and to date, I am currently the only employee as part of the initiative. Before I go any further, though, I would like to share a quick video from the Department of Justice that kind of explains the core concepts of the CVI-PI initiative.
So community violence intervention is more of an approach, right? And it's an approach that was designed basically to give communities a structure on how to reduce community violence, right? It's more of an approach. How do you do this work and how do you do the work well?
Community violence intervention, to me, is about empowering community to solve its problems. We believe that the individuals who are most impacted by cyclical and retaliatory gun violence, in our case, actually reside in the community. And they know most about the underlying causes of that gun violence and are best situated to develop strategies to prevent and intervene with that gun violence.
To us, it's basically a gun violence prevention intervention program. It is an ecosystem. It's not just public safety, and the city of Richmond realized that because it is obvious that it's more than police. It involves multiple disciplines and it involves the community. So that's what it means to the city of Richmond, is addressing those issues neighborhood by neighborhood to address violence.
Community violence intervention is opportunities for people who have lived experiences in our community to step up and intervene in acts of violence, people who may be thinking about violence, and honestly offering opportunities to people who think that choosing violence may be their only way of life.
The way we understand community violence intervention is where community owns the solutions to the problem that is directly affecting them. Therefore, community has a role in eradicating violence.
I would say that community violence intervention is a hodgepodge of different tools and resources that we use to make our community better based off violence that's happening in them. And so then we talk about kids getting arrested, police have to arrest them. In my city, for example, we have youth council officers, community officers, and so those youth, they funnel those children that they arrest to my organization, for example. And so what we do is we mentor before violent acts continue or before they perpetuate to a bigger scale.
In all societies, it's always been the people who are closest to the problem who are also closest to the solution. A lot of time in traditional urban communities where problems are in terms of violence, miseducation, poverty, the individuals who are directly affected by it don't have an opportunity to play a role in correcting or transforming it. And in a nutshell, community-based violence intervention is those folk who've been through it also becoming the ones who are the practitioners in solving our community-based problems in terms of violence.
Okay, so one of the objectives by the Department of Justice for this grant and implementing, these initiatives is to use evidence-informed strategies in doing so. Evidence-informed strategies are those that are defined as any practice which is backed by evidence from research and evaluation through case studies and expert opinions or documented lessons learned while in the field. To help meet this objective, our group and initiative has collaborated with Case Western Reserve University. Throughout the past year, us along with Case Western have collected and analyzed data, as part of a community assessment, which is another fundamental part of the grant's requirements. This assessment process included collecting and compiling data from agencies such as the Springfield Police Division, Clark County Dispatch Center, the Clark County Combined Health District, and by conducting community surveys and interviews to better understand the prevalence and impact of gun violence in the community. The last time I presented here, I shared a preliminary analysis of the data that was collected, and I would like to just briefly touch base on those again. Okay. As you can see from this slide, between 2021 and 2023, firearm offenders aged 14 to 24 made up more than 2 times the number of offenders arrested comparatively to the next highest offender group. And we see a steady decline thereafter. In this slide, what you see here is a heat map of the firearm-related shots fired calls between 2021 and 2023. 2023 to 2024, my apologies. As you can see, a majority of those occurrences occurred in Census Tract 3, and then subsequently spread down through census tracts 12 and 13. In the following slide, nope, there we go. In the following slide, you will see the occurrence of firearm-related arrests. Those are between December of 2020 and January of 2024. Again, the highest concentrations occurring in census tracts 3, 12, and 13. What these maps and these data tells us is that these are the areas where we need to focus our efforts. Upon completion of the community assessment, along with the research on other efforts that we have seen across similar cities that have implemented similar programs, we were able to identify protective factor programs that we can utilize that are already in place here in the community. And we are working and that we are hoping to work with or through to help reduce and prevent gun violence. The group has also been able to identify gaps where there is a need to improve and implement those practices which are evidence-based that have been shown to reduce gun violence. For the past several months, this is where the group has focused its efforts, and in going forward, we will be working on implementing the elements of our gun violence reduction plan. The development of this plan was also a requirement or a required objective as part of the grant. In addition to our plans to expand the strengths of the existing community programs and to assist them in building their capacity to more effectively impact the community through efforts such as trauma-informed practices, over the next year and a half, we will be implementing these strategies identified in our gun violence reduction plan. It is apparent that Clark County youth who are at highest risk of using guns need better access to positive role models, safe spaces to gather and connect, and more opportunities to engage in positive social activities. Gun violence impacts everyone in the community. Not only is it traumatizing for those directly and indirectly connected to the gun violence, but it is also negatively impacting our community's economy and health, both mentally and physically. All of the leaders and stakeholders who began this initiative have put forth a lot of effort to bring in these $1.6 million federal funds into the community. So, as we begin our implementation of the strategies mentioned here, we're asking for the community's support because we need a truly collective and collaborative effort to be able to make a significant and sustainable impact on reducing the gun violence in the area and to ultimately make our community safer. Thank you so much for your time and for your support. And thank you for allowing me to come and speak to you today.
Thank you. Members of the commission, are there any comments or questions?
I definitely want to say thank you for everything that you do in regards to this work.
I would echo that. Thank you.
Thank you, Caleb, and thank you to OIC for heading this up. Just a couple questions. Is there opportunity for citizens to get involved, and who would they reach out to? We've had a lot of citizens come and show interest in getting a youth center together. So I was really excited to see that as a possible solution going forward. So I just want to kind of put that information out there in case someone is interested in getting involved with you.
Absolutely. Anyone who wants to be a part of this initiative can reach out directly to me. My email is my first initial last name at oicofclarkco.org. Anyone is more than welcome to email or contact me. And if you do not have my information, please come and find me, and I will be happy to see how we may be able to work together.
Sorry, can you spell it out?
Sure. CPERKINS at oicofclarkco.org.
And one more question. You're working with established groups, other community, maybe nonprofits that work with our youth. Are you collaborating amongst them for additional resources and connection?
So we have identified other potential organizations to be a part of this initiative. And that's something that we're still currently assessing as we go into implementation.
Thank you. I just think, collaborating together, not reinventing the wheel. They've already started working with youth. How can we just all work together? We're definitely stronger together. So thanks, Caleb.
Thank you.
Caleb, thank you very much on behalf of the commission. This is very important work for our community, and it is has many facets to it. So we wish you well. Our thanks to OIC for joining with us and the other organizations. It's going to take more than just city government to make an impact, a positive impact on this issue. So thank you for helping us determine how best to do that.